I woke up to the worst smell I've ever experienced. Smoke. Thick smoke. My cornfield, my entire harvest, was on fire. And the worst part? This wasn't an accident. Because the person who started it was my HOA board member. She'd been harassing me for months, saying my corn was unsightly and ruining the neighborhood. But I followed every rule. I had permits. I did everything right. Then one night, she crossed a line. She set my field on fire and stood across the street watching it burn. I called 911, and when the firefighters arrived, the truth started to come out. But what happened next is what changed everything. Because the fire marshal didn't believe it was an accident, and the evidence pointed straight to her. Stay with me, because this HOA Karen thought she could get away with it, but karma hit her fast. I never thought corn could make people angry. I grew up around farms. Corn meant food, work, quiet mornings. But in my neighborhood, corn became a problem. I bought the land 3 years ago. It was a small property on the edge of a planned community, technically rural, zoned agricultural, but close enough to a housing development that an HOA claimed it was their concern. Before I planted anything, I did everything right. I checked zoning. I spoke to the county office. I pulled permits. I even emailed the HOA board out of courtesy, not obligation. They didn't reply, so I planted corn. Nothing massive, just a modest field. Neat rows, well-maintained. No junk, no noise, no smell, just green stalks growing taller every week. Most neighbors didn't care. Some waved when I drove the tractor. A few even asked if they could buy fresh corn later. But one person noticed immediately. Her name was Karen. I wish that wasn't her real name, but it was. She lived across the street from the field. Big house, perfect lawn, the kind of place where the grass looks vacuumed. The first time she spoke to me, she smiled. Too much. She said, "I just wanted to introduce myself." Then she looked past me at the corn. Her smile tightened. "You're really going to keep that?" she asked. I told her yes. I said it was my land. I said it was approved. Her smile disappeared. "Well," she said, "this is a community." That was the first warning. I didn't take it seriously. A week later, I got my first HOA letter. It said my crops violated community aesthetics. No citation, no rule number, just vibes. I emailed back, politely, attached zoning documents. No response. Then the second letter came. This one said I was in violation of HOA rules regarding unsanctioned land use. Still wrong. Then fines were mentioned. Daily fines. That's when I went to the HOA meeting. Karen was sitting at the front table. Board member. Treasurer. According to the nameplate. She didn't look surprised to see me. I explained everything calmly. I showed paperwork. I explained zoning. I explained that the HOA had no authority over my land. The room went quiet. Then Karen spoke. She said, "Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should." People nodded. She said the corn was bringing down property values. She said it attracted pests. She said it made the neighborhood look unfinished. I asked which rule I violated. She couldn't answer. Another board member said they'd look into it. I left thinking it was over. It wasn't. After that, things got small, petty. I found trash dumped near the edge of my field. Fast food bags, soda cups, things that hadn't been there before. Someone complained about dust. Someone complained about noise, even though I only worked daytime hours. Then one morning, I found footprints in the soil. Someone had walked through the rows, crushing young stalks. I installed cameras. That made things worse. Karen came over that same afternoon. No smile this time. She said, "Cameras make people uncomfortable." I told her trespassing made me uncomfortable. She stared at me for a long moment. Then she said something I still remember word for word. "If the HOA can't stop you, something else will." She walked away. That night, I barely slept. I started documenting everything. Emails, letters, dates, times. I sent a formal cease and desist to the HOA through a lawyer friend. Suddenly, The letters stopped. No apology. No correction. Just silence. For a few weeks, things were calm. The corn grew tall. Green turned deeper. Harvest season got closer. I thought maybe she'd given up. Then one night, I smelled smoke. At first, I thought it was a grill. It happens. But this was different. Thick, sharp, wrong. I stepped outside. The sky over the field was glowing orange. And that's when I started running. I don't remember grabbing my phone. I don't remember locking the door. I only remember running. The closer I got to the field, the hotter the air felt. Smoke scratched my throat. My eyes burned. The orange glow wasn't just light anymore. It was fire. Real fire. Moving fast. The corn was burning in long lines, like someone had drawn fire straight through the rows. That's when my stomach dropped. Fires don't move like that by accident. I stopped at the edge of the field. The heat pushed me back. Dry leaves cracked and popped like gunfire. Stalks collapsed one by one, folding into flames. I dialed 911 with shaking hands. My voice sounded strange to my own ears. Too calm, too tight. My field is on fire, I said. I think it's spreading. They asked for my address. They asked if anyone was hurt. They told me help was on the way. Sirens started almost immediately. That's how dry it was. Everyone knew fire was a worst-case scenario out here. Neighbors came outside. Doors opened. People stood in pajamas, holding phones, whispering. Someone asked if it was lightning. Another said maybe a power line. I didn't answer. I was staring at the burn pattern. The fire wasn't random. It wasn't chaotic. It was clean. Too clean. Then I saw her. Karen was standing across the road, just past a mailbox cluster. She wasn't filming. She wasn't calling anyone. She was watching, arms folded, face calm, almost satisfied. I walked toward her without thinking. The heat followed me, roaring behind. What happened? I asked. She didn't look at me. She kept her eyes on the flames. Well, she said, slowly, these things happen. I felt something snap in my chest. What do you mean these things happen? She finally turned to me. Her expression changed just enough to look concerned. Fake concern. I mean, accidents happen, she said, especially when land isn't properly maintained. I laughed, not because it was funny, because I couldn't believe the audacity. Get away from my property, I said. She shrugged and stepped back. Not scared, not defensive, just annoyed. The fire trucks arrived seconds later. Red lights washed over everything. The firefighters moved fast. Too fast for this to be routine. Hoses came out. Engines roared. Water hit flames with violent force. The smell changed. Burnt corn mixed with wet ash. Sweet and bitter at the same time. A fire captain approached me. He asked questions. Short ones. When did I notice the fire? Was anyone working here today? Any electrical equipment? I answered honestly. No. He nodded, but his eyes stayed on the field. On the lines. Another firefighter joined us. They exchanged a look. Then the captain asked something different. Anyone been having disputes over this land? I hesitated. Then I said yes. I didn't point. I didn't accuse. I just told the truth. HOA conflict. Board member complaints. Threats. He wrote it down. Karen must have seen that, because suddenly she was very interested in what was happening. She walked over. Casually. I'm on the HOA board, she announced, as if that explained everything. The captain nodded politely. Ma'am, he said, we're still assessing the situation. She smiled, that same tight smile. I just hope no one blames the community for this, she said. That was her second mistake, because the fire marshal arrived next. Different uniform, different energy. He didn't rush. He walked slowly around the field, crouching, pointing, talking quietly with his team. He stopped near the edge, right where the fire started. I saw him kneel, touch the soil, bring his fingers to his nose. He stood up and looked straight at me. Did you smell fuel when you arrived? He asked. Yes, I said. Like gasoline. Karen stiffened. The marshal nodded. He wrote something down. Then he asked the neighbors questions. Who saw what? Who was awake early? Who noticed anyone near the field? That's when a man from 2 houses down spoke up. He said he'd seen someone walking near the corn before sunrise. He couldn't see clearly, but he saw a light, like a flashlight. He said the person walked back toward the houses. Not away. Karen's face changed. Her jaw tightened. Her arms unfolded. She checked her phone. The marshal turned to her. "Ma'am," he said calmly, "do you live nearby?" "Yes," she said. "Right there." He nodded. "Were you outside early this morning?" She hesitated. Just for a second. "I let my dog out," she said. Briefly. That was her third mistake, because another neighbor spoke up. "She doesn't have a dog," the woman said. "I live next door. She's allergic." The silence after that felt loud. Karen laughed nervously. "Well, I was watching a friend's dog," she said. No one believed her. The marshal thanked everyone and asked them to go back inside. But he didn't leave. He walked up to Karen's driveway. "Look down." Then he crouched. I couldn't see what he saw, but I saw his reaction. He stood up slowly. "Ma'am," he said, "I need to ask you a few more questions." Karen stepped back. "Why?" she snapped. "I didn't do anything." He didn't argue. He just gestured toward her garage. "May we take a look inside?" Her voice rose. "You don't have a warrant." He nodded again. "That's fine," he said. "Then we'll wait." She looked around. At the firefighters. At the neighbors peeking through curtains. At me. For the first time, I saw fear. Real fear. The fire was under control now. The field was ruined. Blackened. Gone. But the real damage was just beginning. And Karen knew it. The fire truck stayed longer than I expected. Not because the fire was still burning, but because something felt wrong. Firefighters packed up hoses slowly. The fire marshal didn't leave at all. He stayed near the edge of the field, talking quietly into his radio. Karen was pacing now, back and forth along her driveway, phone in hand, not calling anyone, just staring at the screen like it might save her. I stood near my truck, watching what was left of my field. Charred stalks leaned at odd angles. Ash coated the soil like gray snow. Months of work erased in one night. A sheriff's deputy arrived shortly after. Then another. That's when I knew this wasn't going to be written off as an accident. The fire marshal approached me again. "I'm going to be straight with you," he said. "This fire didn't start naturally." I nodded. I already knew. "We're finding signs of accelerant," he continued. "Multiple ignition points. That means intent." My jaw tightened. "So arson?" I asked. He didn't answer right away. He chose his words carefully. "It's being treated as such." Karen overheard that. She stopped pacing. Her head snapped toward us. "This is ridiculous," she said loudly. "You can't just accuse people." The marshal turned to her slowly. "Ma'am," he said, calm but firm, "no one's accused anyone yet." Her voice rose anyway. "Well, it feels like you're targeting me," she said, "because of some HOA drama." The deputy stepped closer to her, not threatening, just present. "Let's all keep things calm," he said. Karen crossed her arms again, but this time they shook. The marshal asked me to walk him through the history. Everything, start to finish. So I did. I told him about the letters, the meetings, the threats, the trespassing, the cameras. When I mentioned the line, "If the HOA can't stop you, something else will," his pen paused. He looked up at me. "Did she say that exactly?" he asked. "Yes." He wrote it down word for word. Then he asked about the cameras. I pulled up the footage on my phone. Not from the fire. The smoke had blinded them. But from earlier that night, a figure, early morning hours. Flashlight sweeping low, moving carefully along the edge of the field. The marshal leaned in. "Can you zoom?" he asked. I did. The image wasn't perfect, but the shape was familiar. The walk, the posture. The figure stopped near the ignition point. Then the footage cut. Karen let out a short laugh. "You can't see anything," she said. "That could be anyone." The marshal didn't respond. Instead, he asked her a question. "Ma'am, What kind of shoes were you wearing this morning? She blinked. What? She asked. What shoes? He repeated. Were you wearing when you went outside earlier? She hesitated too long. Slippers, she said. He nodded and looked at the deputy. The deputy walked over to the driveway again. Kneeled. Looked closely. I followed his gaze. There were footprints. Not slippers. Work boots. Karen saw them too. She stepped forward quickly. That doesn't mean anything, she said. People walk here all the time. The deputy stood. Ma'am, he said, those prints go from your garage to the field and back. Her face drained of color. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. That's impossible, she said. You're mistaken. The marshal sighed quietly. Ma'am, he said, we'd like to take a look inside your garage now. She shook her head. No, she said sharply. You don't have permission. That's your right, he replied. But we will be requesting a warrant. Her voice cracked. For what? She demanded. For evidence related to suspected arson. That word hung in the air. Arson. Karen laughed again. Too loud. Too fast. You're insane, she said. This is harassment. She turned and walked inside her house, slamming the door. The deputy watched her go. She's not leaving town, he said quietly. The marshal nodded. The rest of the night blurred together. Statements, photos, measurements. They taped off parts of the field, collected soil samples, bagged debris. When they finally left, the sun was coming up. I stood alone, staring at the damage. Anger hit me then, not explosive. Heavy. This wasn't just corn. It was time, money, peace. Later that morning, I got a call from the HOA. Not Karen, the president. His voice was tight. We heard there was an incident, he said. That's one way to put it. I replied. He asked if Karen was involved. I told him the truth. I don't know what she did, I said, but she's being investigated. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something that surprised me. She acted on her own, he said quickly. She does not represent the HOA. I almost laughed. Funny how fast they distanced themselves. By noon, word had spread. Neighbors stopped by. Some apologized. Some admitted they complained too. One man said, we didn't think she'd go that far. Neither did I. That afternoon, a sheriff's car pulled into Karen's driveway. Then another. Then a third. They knocked. She didn't answer. They knocked again. Finally, she opened the door. I couldn't hear what was said, but I saw her shoulders slump. They handed her papers. A warrant. They entered her garage. Minutes passed. Then longer. They came out carrying bags. Red plastic containers. Fuel cans. Karen stood in the doorway. Crying now. Not dramatic. Broken. That night, I got a call from the fire marshal. We found the accelerant, he said, in her garage, on her clothes. My hand shook. What happens now? I asked. He paused. Now, he said, it goes to the DA. I hung up and sat down. The fire had taken my harvest, but the truth had lit something else. And Karen's control, the thing she relied on, was gone. I didn't sleep much after that. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw fire. Not the flames themselves, but the way they moved. Deliberate, controlled. That's what stayed with me. By morning, the neighborhood felt different, quieter, like people were afraid to talk too loud. Karen's house was dark, blinds closed, garage door shut. The sheriff's cars were gone, but their presence lingered. So did the smell of burnt corn. It stuck to everything. Around mid-morning, my phone rang again. This time, it was a number I didn't recognize. It was a detective. He introduced himself calmly and told me he'd been assigned the case. He asked if I could come down to the station later that day. I agreed. Before I left, I checked my email. There were 5 messages from the HOA. 5, all sent within an hour. The tone had changed completely. The first was vague. We're aware of the incident. The second was defensive. The HOA had no involvement. The third was legal sounding. Any actions taken by individual members were unauthorized. The fourth was panicked. We request a meeting. The fifth was short. Please do not speak publicly about this. That one made me smile. At the station, the detective walked me through what they had. Accelerant traces matched what was found in Karen's garage. Her boots matched the footprints. Her phone location placed her near the field before sunrise. They had enough to move forward. Charges are being prepared, he said. I asked him what kind. He didn't soften it. Felony arson, he said. Reckless endangerment. Property destruction. My chest tightened. Jail, I asked. Potentially, he replied. I didn't feel relief like I expected. I felt something heavier. Final. When I got home, there was a notice taped to Karen's door. HOA emergency meeting. Board members only so much for distancing themselves. That evening, I watched cars pull into the clubhouse parking lot. Board members, lawyers, people who had ignored me for months. Karen didn't attend. The next day, news van showed up. Not national. Local. Someone had leaked the story. HOA board member investigated for arson. One headline read. That's when everything collapsed for her. Neighbors who had defended her went silent. People unfriended her online. The same HOA that empowered her now treated her like a disease. The HOA president came to my house in person. He looked tired, older than before. We're suspending Karen effective immediately, he said. We want to make things right. I asked him how. He swallowed. We're waiving all fines, he said. We'll issue a formal apology, and we won't interfere with your land again. I looked him straight in the eye. You never had the right to interfere, I said. He nodded. I know. A week later, Karen was formally charged. Her mugshot appeared online. Hair unstyled. No makeup. Eyes hollow. People commented. Some defended her. Most didn't. The HOA removed her name from their website, like she'd never existed. That part bothered me more than I expected. Not because I felt sorry for her, but because it showed how fake all of it was. The authority, the confidence. Gone the moment it became inconvenient. One afternoon, I saw Karen outside for the first time since the fire. She looked smaller, thinner. She walked to her mailbox and froze when she saw me. We stood there in silence. Finally, she spoke. You ruined my life, she said quietly. I didn't raise my voice. No, I said. You did. She stared at me like she wanted to argue, but she didn't. She turned and walked back inside. 2 days later, her house went up for sale. The sign appeared overnight. Another week passed. Insurance contacted me. The fire was officially ruled intentional. My claim was approved in full. Karen's wasn't, because intentional acts aren't covered. That's when reality really hit her. She tried to contact me through a lawyer, an apology, a settlement offer. I declined. I wasn't interested in revenge anymore. Just closure. The corn wouldn't grow back this season, but it would again. Her reputation wouldn't. At the next HOA meeting, they changed the rules. Reduced board power. Added oversight. Funny how justice inspires reform. I stood at the edge of my blackened field one evening, watching the sun go down. The land was quiet again, but not empty. Something had ended here, and something else was waiting to grow. Court doesn't look like the movies. There's no dramatic music, no shouting, just waiting, and paperwork, and quiet tension that sits in your chest. Karen's case moved faster than I expected. Arson cases usually do when the evidence is clean, and this one was. I was listed as the primary victim. That meant statements, depositions, more retelling than I wanted. Every time I described the fire, I felt it again. The heat, the smell, the loss. Karen showed up to court the first time in a gray suit. Conservative, carefully chosen. She avoided looking at me. Her lawyer did most of the talking. He framed her as stressed, overwhelmed, a community volunteer who made a terrible mistake. That phrasing bothered me. Mistakes are forgetting to lock a door. Mistakes aren't pouring fuel and lighting a match. Outside the courthouse, reporters waited. Karen didn't speak, but her lawyer did. He hinted that the HOA conflict had pushed her too far, that she felt ignored and powerless. Powerless. I almost laughed. That night, a neighbor sent me screenshots. Karen had posted online a long message about harassment, about being targeted by an angry landowner. She never denied the fire. She just reframed it. I stayed quiet. My lawyer advised it. So did the detective. Let the facts speak, they said. And they did. During discovery, Karen's phone records came in. Text to another board member complaining about my field. A message sent the night before the fire. If he won't listen, maybe fire will teach him. That message ended everything. Her lawyer tried to suppress it. Failed. The plea deal followed shortly after. She would plead guilty to felony arson. In exchange, some charges would be reduced. No trial. The day she entered her plea, she finally looked at me, not angry, not smug, just empty. When the judge asked if she understood what she was admitting to, her voice barely carried. Yes, she said. That was it. No speech. No explanation. Just consequences. Sentencing was scheduled for later. In the meantime, life kept moving. I hired workers to clear the field. Burnt stalks came out. Soil was turned. Ash mixed back into the ground. It smelled different now. Cleaner. The HOA changed leadership. Publicly apologized. Privately stayed far away from me. Karen's house sold at a loss. She moved before sentencing. No goodbye. No note. Just gone. On sentencing day, I gave my impact statement. I didn't insult her. I didn't raise my voice. I talked about trust, about safety, about how quickly power can rot someone's judgment. The judge listened carefully. Then he sentenced her. Probation, community service, mandatory counseling, a criminal record that wouldn't disappear. No jail. Some people were disappointed. I wasn't, because jail would have been temporary. This wasn't. As she was let out, she looked back once more. This time, there was no accusation in her eyes, only understanding that she'd crossed a line she could never step back over. The land rested through the winter. I didn't rush it. Some things need time after being burned. Snow covered the field. Ash disappeared beneath white. From a distance, you'd never know what happened there. But I knew. Every morning, I'd look out the window and picture the rows as they were before. Straight, green, alive. Spring came slowly that year. The ground softened. The smell of earth returned. I replanted in early April. Not just corn. I added cover crops. Beans, clover, things that heal soil. Neighbors watched quietly. Some waved. Some kept their distance. No one complained. The HOA stayed silent. The first green shoots felt like a promise. Not revenge. Recovery. By summer, the field was full again. Different. Stronger. I harvested in late August. Not a full yield, but enough. When I held the first ear of corn, I felt something close to peace. Karen never came back. I heard she moved out of state. Started over. Some people said they felt sorry for her. I didn't. I felt finished. The fire taught the neighborhood something rules never could. Power doesn't come from titles. And control always leaves evidence. Sometimes karma isn't loud. It's patient. And sometimes the best revenge is letting something better grow in the same place where someone tried to burn you down.